Every year, there are hundreds of franchise locations that close down and go out of business, and there are frustrated, upset franchise owners that lost a lot of money. And in this video, I'm gonna go over the top questions that you must ask a franchisor as you're going through the process to figure out if not only franchising is right for you, but if the specific franchise that you're looking at is right for you. So let's jump in. All right, welcome guys. If you're new here, my name is Tariq Johnson. I've owned multiple franchise locations. I've bought and sold my own locations, and I have a whole channel here that's dedicated to helping you make great franchise decisions and even determine if a franchise is right for you. So as we jump into this, I mentioned in the intro that there's a lot of franchises that close every year, and upset franchisees that wind up buying into a franchise business and realizing that either they don't like the concept and the brand and it just doesn't fit them, or they like franchising overall, but they made a mistake and chose the wrong franchise. So that's what I want to help you avoid. I want to help you choose the right franchise and even figure out if the franchise brand's right for you. So let's jump into these questions to ask a franchisor. I also have other videos on my channel on specifically what to ask other franchisees as you're going through franchise validation, which is very, very important. So some of these questions that I'll go over here, these are questions that can be asked during discovery day, early on in the process, really any point throughout the process, but there's some really powerful questions, so let's jump into them. All right, so here's what's great. You can follow along with me in this video. You can go to tariqjohnson.com/blog. The one that we're gonna go over today is buying a franchise, top 25 questions to ask a franchisor. The value of this video, and not just looking through the blog, is that I'm gonna go in more in depth on the questions and kind of explain why those questions are important and kind of follow-up questions to ask. So I'm just gonna go over some of the top ones that really stand out that I think are really important to you. So go to tariqjohnson.com/blog and go ahead and follow along with me. All right, so the first one is, hey, what's your competitive advantage in the industry? Who are your biggest competitors and what makes your franchise stand out? Now, of course, you can do the research by yourself in determining who their competitors are, but you really want to know what's their competitive advantages. The reality is there are some franchises that do significantly better than other franchises. There are a lot of food franchises and sandwich franchises, but some of the top ones that might come to mind are, companies like Jersey Mike's or Dunkin' Donuts, right? These are big brands, and those are obvious examples, but you want to hear it from the franchisor themselves. You want to hear them explain this question to not only understand what they say in terms of what their strategic and competitive advantage is, but you want to listen for their level of belief and certainty. How much do you feel like they really believe in what they're saying? Maybe even press them a little bit. Hey, you said this is the biggest competitive advantage, but I noticed that one of the other competitors, they do that too. What really makes you stand out? And so you're really looking for their sense of certainty and confidence, because ultimately, at the end of the day, if they don't believe that they're the best, then, they're probably not going to be. Here's another one. What are the most recent changes and innovations you've implemented, and what else is on the horizon? For me, this was big with the franchise concept that I chose to buy into years ago. And, I tell everyone that I made a lot of mistakes during the franchise process. And it's one of the reasons why I started this channel and started making videos like this is I just wanted to be able to support you guys that are thinking about franchising to really make quality decisions. And as a part of that, actually, if you already went to my website, you probably saw that I have my 7-step blueprint to business profits in 60 days. It's a completely free 28-page ebook to guide you through how my wife and I got our first franchise location that took $300,000 to invest profitable in less than 60 days. It was not an accident. It's not a guarantee that you're gonna do that yourself, but if you follow the steps, you're gonna put yourself in a really, really, really good position. And so it's helpful to know what are the innovations something that would be really frustrating and a common complaint with franchise owners is that the franchisors, they're not doing much. They're not innovating. They're not keeping track with the competition. We live in a fast-paced world right now, and businesses are constantly changing and evolving in different social medias. And you want a franchise concept that has the stability and the growth, but that can adapt and implement things very quickly. Like when online ordering came out and blew up, you don't want to be behind the curve and miss out and potentially lose some business to your competitors because your franchise concept is not innovating. So you want to get an idea of what's on the horizon. Then how many units or locations have closed or been open in the last 3 years, and why? Why? You want to get some examples about why some of these franchise locations open or closed. A lot of the times, the likelihood is you're going to hear them blame it on the franchisees. And quite honestly, a lot of the times it's probably valid. But what a franchisor sometimes won't ever say, and if they do say that, it's actually really good, which is, hey, we actually chose the wrong franchisee. We were really eager to get someone in that location and they just really weren't the best fit. But you want to get a sense of why locations are closing. You'll be able to see this in the FDD. You'll be able to see how many units have been opening or closing. And if there's a trend of a lot of units closing, then that's obviously a red flag. But you want to hear it from the franchisor themselves. Here's a really good one is, how long have your top 10% of your performing units locations been opened or operating? Here's why this is important. So usually in the FDD in item 19, depending upon the franchise, you can see how many locations are in the top 10 or 25%. And what you want to get an idea of is, hey, if I plan to be in the top 25% of performing stores in terms of revenues, which usually will translate to higher profits, how long is that going to take me? Are there franchise locations that are doing amazing and getting ramped up by their second or third year, or have the top performing franchise locations been open for 10, 12, 15 years? I went and got a haircut today. I went and got a haircut at a franchise called Great Clips. It was actually the first time I ever went to Great Clips. I usually go to independent barbers, and I was talking to the lady that was cutting my hair, and I said, hey, how long has this franchise location been open? And she said, oh, they've been open since the 90s. Wow, that's a long time. And that franchise owner owned 41 locations. Absolutely amazing. But she said they're busy all the time. They're constantly busy. Granted, they're in a really great shopping center in the area that we live in, a shopping center that's really busy and has a ton of traffic. But again, you want to get a sense of how long it's going to take you to become one of those top performers. Then you want them to explain the total range of the investment. And this is in the FTD, shows you what that range of how much it takes to get a location open. But find out, how can you keep the investment lower? Here's why that's important and a really powerful question to ask. You might think, well, it's listed, it says $200,000 to $350,000 to get open. The range is what it is. But there are a lot of factors that play into that, right? As an example, the square footage of the location that you choose. If overall the brand that you're looking at or franchise concept goes, hey, we can accept a location within 1,000 to 1,400 square feet, well, guess what? If you're on the higher square footage side of that business, well, that means not only more rent, but more money in construction costs that you have to pay for. Here's something interesting that happened. There was another franchise location that I went into recently, a food franchise, and it used to be a poke place, a poke bowl, fish. And now it's this steak franchise, sandwich franchise. I went in and everything was pretty much the same except for a little bit of design aspects and obviously some branding, but all of the structure, the build out was exactly the same. And so for that franchisee that went in and opened up that location and took over, they got a great deal. They probably saved themselves $150,000 in build out and equipment. So when you ask this question to the franchisor, how can I keep my total investment as low as possible? Well, you might get some interesting answers to that question that really help you out and help you reach your break-even point sooner and not later. Then overall, I'm gonna lump a couple of questions together, which is, on the marketing fees and the advertising fees, how do they use that to support the franchisee? And how do they support franchisees with local marketing? How proactive is the marketing team? Because at the end of the day, you could have the best franchise concept. You could really love it. It can align with your skill sets. I talk about all these things in my other videos. Make sure to go check them out and subscribe if you have not already to the channel. Actually, hit the like button while you're down there. It helps the YouTube algorithm show this video to more and more people. But I talk about but ultimately you could have done all those things. Aligned your skills, your why, done your research, but at the end of the day, if you don't market your business and you don't have customers coming in the door, none of it matters. Marketing is everything. Some businesses you'll be in a really good location. Maybe you don't have to do a lot of marketing, but you want to know what type of support is the franchisor going to give you. Because the sooner you get clients, the sooner you make money, the sooner you are profitable, and it's a win-win for everyone. Supply chain, this is big. I'm gonna point out this one. So how does your supply chain work? Who are the vendors or distributors in my area, and how many other locations or units do they support? This question rings home to me because my second franchise location that I bought as an existing location, well, turned out there's really not any other locations with this specific franchise in the area. So our food distributor really wasn't supporting many locations, and it just, to be honest, it made things a real pain in the butt with supply chain. We had to provide longer lead time to get certain products and ingredients, or if they run out, it just became really inconvenient and I don't want to say devastating because that's dramatic, but it just became a really big inconvenience. And I wasn't a fan of this distributor and supply chain as much as I was my store in California, the one that supported a lot of stores. So it's an important question to ask, especially if you wind up opening up a franchise location, you're the only one in the area. Products might be more expensive, they could take longer to get to you. There are a lot of things that could impact the way that you run your business that the franchisor is probably not gonna just volunteer on the front end because they want you to step in, and they probably to step in and open up the franchise, and they probably want you to open up the market. So these are some of the top questions that I would ask franchisors as you're going through the process. Again, I have a whole list. There's 25 of them on this web link. Go to tariqjohnson.com/blog and you can find them there. Let me know what you thought about this video, where you are in the franchise process. Again, make sure that you subscribe. Go download my 7-step blueprint to business profits in 60 days, and I'll see you in the next one.